today we have a new test, some difficult questions and easy answers in a shortest time. A DC power supply is connected in series to a resistor R is equals to 2 ohm and a capacitor C is equals to 1.5 farad. EMF of the battery is 9 volt. Then the value of maximum charge Q naught. Q naught will be given as CV. Q is equals to CV, but here we have maximum charge. Q naught is equals to CE. So Q naught is equals to C is 1.5 multiply by this is 9. So Q naught is 13.5 coulomb. This is your first answer. Now the next one. Now how much time is required to obtain the maximum charge? We know that we have a time constant tau is equals to RC. R is how much? 2 ohm and C is 1.5 farad. So tau is equals to 3 seconds. The time required to maximum charge is given as T is equals to 5 tau. In this time approximately 93%, more than 93% of the battery will be charged, the plates will be charged. So let's put the values and get the result. 5 into 3, so T is equals to 15 seconds. So our result is Q naught is 13.5 coulomb and time required to maximum charge is 15 seconds. A copper wire has a length L and cross-sectional area A. Its resistance is R. We know that the formula for resistance is R is equals to rho L over A. Let this be the first case and then move further. If we halve the length, then L prime will become half L and half the diameter of wire. Now what's the relation of diameter? Area is given as pi r square and radius is the half of diameter. So when diameter is halved, so the radius will be halved. So A prime will be A pi r by 2 whole square. So this will become A prime equals to pi r square by 4. So when we take pi r square, we'll get A prime is equals to 1 over 4 A. Now we have A prime, we have L prime. What we have to find out? Then we have to find out the resistance of this wire, the new resistance of the wire. So this will be R prime. R prime equals to what? Rho L prime over A prime. L prime is half L and this is 1 over 4 A. This 4 will go up and 2 will come down. So we'll get R equals to 4L over 2A and this rho is there. It is there, rho is there. So we can check 2 on the 2, 2 to the 4. So this will be 2 rho L over A. This corresponds to the original resistance. So R now becomes equals to 2R, doubled. So the correct option is number 2. Let's move to the next one. Two electric bulbs P and Q of powers 250 watt and 1000 watt respectively. We have two bulbs. Power of the first bulb is 250 watt. The power of the second bulb is 1000 watt. So P1 is 250 watt. P2 is 1000 watt. Are connected to 110 volt power supply. So voltage of the supply is 110 volt. The ratio of currents passing through bulbs P to the current passing through bulb Q is I1 over I2. This we have to find out. Okay. So instead of going into the lengthy calculation, we can simplify it very quickly. We know that the power is given as, if I write P1, P2, power is given as IV. Which of the following refers to the DC current that does not change its intensity? So what are the options? Leakage current? No. Eddy's current? No, not at all. Surge current? Not at all, because it is not changing its intensity, means it is not changing its polarity either or the frequency. It is constant. So the constant current, the answer is the constant current. DC current is a constant current and it is also known as steady current. So the steady current is the correct option. Move to the next one. Which of the following materials have negative temperature coefficients? Immediately we must know the definition of the negative temperature coefficient, the one whose resistance decreases with the increasing temperature. So this is the property which is only associated with the semiconductors. So let's find out the pair of the semiconductor out of these four pairs. The first one, germanium and iron. Iron is a metal, not semiconductor. Reject it. This one is iron and silicon. Again, iron, cancel. This also has iron, copper, cancel. So germanium and silicon. Second option is okay. What is the purpose of resolving vectors into rectangular components? Now you have to find out what is the main purpose of resolving the vectors into rectangular components. The choices are: number one, to change vector direction, not at all. To increase vector magnitude, again no. To eliminate vector addition, not at all, because it is the addition of vectors. So the right answer is to simplify complex vector problems. This is the correct option. Move to the next one. If both horizontal and vertical components have same magnitude, then angle between them is, in this case we are having tangent theta equals to y over x. If the magnitudes are same, for example 3 and 3, so this will become 1. So theta is equals to tangent inverse of 1, and this will be how much? 45 degree. So the correct option is the C. The next one is the rectangular components of 10 Newton are. We know that the rectangular components are those components which are at 90 degree to each other. And how we can find them out? Let's suppose if this is R, then this will be under root rx square plus ry square. What we'll do is we'll check one by one. Okay, our result should be 10 Newton. This should be 10 Newton. If I'll put 3 and 4 inside, the square of 3 will be 9 and square of 4 will be 16. So it won't give the correct result, because we need 100 over here. Because we need, what we need over here, we need 100, because the under root of 100 will become 10. So if 3 and 4 is not working, 2 and 3 cannot, because it is smaller than this. Come to the next one. 4 4s are 16, 5 5s are 25. Again, sorry. Now come to this one. 6 square and 8 square. This will be 36 and this is 64. So it become 100 and the result will be 10. So D is the correct option. The next one is the minimum number of vectors of equal magnitudes required to produce a zero resultant is. Now it's very simple, very tricky. There isn't any need to solve it out. But we can make two vectors like this and this. If say this represents 3 Newton and this represents 3 Newton, both are acting in opposite direction. So the result will be 0. 3 Newton plus minus 3 Newton. So the result will be 0. So to get the result, the minimum number of vectors of equal magnitude required to produce a zero resultant is 2. This is the correct option. Move to the next one, which is like this one again. Okay, what they are saying this time, the minimum number of vectors of unequal magnitudes required to produce a zero resultant is. Now let's suppose this is a vector and this is given by magnitude 3 Newton moving in upward direction. We cannot neutralize it by a single vector of unequal amount. Why? Because if I will try to neutralize it with a vector which is of 2 Newton magnitude acting downward, I cannot reach to the ground back. Okay, I need one more vector to get minimum result. So we can produce a zero resultant with the minimum number of vectors of unequal magnitudes. With how many vectors? You can see the result: 1, 2, 3 vectors. So the correct option is 3. Which method of vector addition is also known as analytic method? Okay, it's purely the memory. How you can find out the result? Because you must know which are graphical, which is analytical. The first one is graphical method. Second one, the parallelogram law, is again graphical method. The D1, polygon law, it is also a graphical method. So we are left with the addition of vectors by rectangular components. So this is the correct option. It is also known as the analytical method of vector addition.